Using text and making a timer. Right, on my game then, I'm going to add a timer and the word time above it, which will basically count down as if it's the end of the game, as in like you've got to get to the end of the level or complete the level before the timer runs out. Now, we're not actually going to look at that side of things in terms of the coding behind making that, like give you a game over type of screen. We're just going to look at one, how to get text to be used on your game, and then how to actually do a bit of coding to make something count down. And then we come back to it at some point then in terms of getting it to work properly. But first things first, the text, which I can bring in, and I'll go over how to bring it in now in a moment, it kind of gives you the default font, which is Arial or Arial. It does on mine anyway. I'm not sure if it'll do the same as yours. But I actually know there's a font style I want to use. So I've already got the font style downloaded, and it's on my desktop, so I just need to bring it in. So I just need to import a new asset. And if I go and find where it is, there it is, Super Mario 256. And it appears down here. And like again, there's settings with it, but there's nothing which I really need to look at this stage. Right, now, if I want to add some text, if I click on the plus sign for it, you will see UI, which stands for user interface, and there's all these different options here, which you're probably going to make use of at some stage, especially like buttons and even drop-down menus, that type of stuff. But there's two different texts. There's Text Mesh Pro, which basically allows you to bring in text which you which have already got kind of things set up on like shadows and different effects and stuff like that, and you can kind of go to Unity assets to download free versions of those. But I'm just going to use text at this stage just to go through the basics. Now, when I click on text, what happens, and it takes a few seconds for it to get there, and we're going to do one of these hold on things. I don't know how long this is going to take. Oh, there we go. Now it produces this, and you're probably thinking, well, where's the text? I can see on the right hand side I can change things. It says canvas and text on the left hand side. But what I'm actually going to do is double click on canvas to zoom out. And you'll see that it has zoomed out a heck of a lot because down in the bottom left is actually the game. And it's got new text there. Now, first thing I'm going to do on the text is just change it. So it actually says what I want it to say, time. And I appreciate you can't really see it very well on there. So let's also change the color. And I'm going to make it white. Now, I hate actually trying to get right into the corner of the mouse. I end up not quite clicking right, but I know the hexadecimal code for white is FFFFF, which is 6Fs, yeah. And you can see on the screen, it actually shows you what it looks like then. And I'll press enter, or press X and go away. Now the font, if I click on it, or the dots on the side, you'll see that I've actually got two Super Mario 256s because I've kind of done this is the second run of doing this video. So if I just click on the font, it changes automatically across here. And again, if I click away, it's actually set up there as well. I'm going to make a central aligned, so it's in the middle there. I'm also going to make a center in terms of the text box which has been generated for us. And I'm going to set the horizontal overflow to overflow. Same for the vertical overflow as well. And the reason why is because with the font size, and you can click on font size and you can increase by dragging left and right. If I hadn't done the overflow, then it wouldn't let me go outside the box. So I'm going to get it to the size I want it to go, and then I'm just going to drag it into the position I want it to go. And what's nice is as you drag it, that number which is kind of following it gives you the Y coordinate, which is over there on the right hand side. Look, and it also shows you the X coordinate as well from this 0 point in the middle. Now I'm actually going to put it like this right in the middle. Now, just to explain what this huge canvas thing is. Now this canvas gets put over your game scene. So if I double click on player to take us back down to where we were and just zoom out a little bit and drag it across so it's in the middle. It doesn't have to be, but it won't be like this huge bit of text which is kind of completely off the camera. It actually gets placed over the camera itself. So you can adjust the canvas, you can adjust the camera to kind of make them kind of fit as such in respect, and I'll explain that more as we kind of go along. But anyway, at this point, I've just chucked the word time up on the top of our canvas, right up the top there. And if I press play, so rather than me explaining it, I should have just shown you really, it then puts the text onto our game right up the top there. And remember now, we've coded the chicken, so if I go left and right, I move, it looks as if I'm moving left and right. In fact, I am, but the camera's actually following the chicken. But notice, time is pretty much right at the top of the screen, and it kind of follows the camera as well, which is lovely. I thought I'd have to code it to do that, but it does it for us, which is great. Right, now, if you still kind of, oh, I'm not quite sure, I'm not sure if I want it to be there, So if I click on the timer there, then you can move it up and down. You can adjust the position. Now it's 215 wide, 215 from that point. So I'm actually going to make it 230 because I know that works a lot better. And the size looked okay on it, but again, if I didn't like the look of the size, I could either left, right, click here and drag left or right, or adjust the size there to what I want it to be. Now, in fact, I'm going to make that color yellow for that. I just realized I was going to do something else. In fact, I think the color, I've actually written this down, is FBFF5F, everyone's favorite yellow. And it changes there then as well. And what I'm going to do, like I said, I actually want a label, like a time label. And it's called text at the moment. I'm actually going to rename it so it says time label. I'm also then going to have another bit of text directly underneath it, which will count down. So I'm going to copy this. I'm literally clicking on it on the screen, Control C, Control V, and over on the left hand side you'll see time label 1, and that's actually going to be our timer text, I'm going to call it. Now I want it to be white because I want it to be slightly different color from the yellow, so it doesn't clash as such. And you'll think, well, why have you done that, Rob? Because it's right on top of it. And if I just move it down slightly, now if I actually grab the green bar, now it doesn't matter if I go left or right, it will always follow directly underneath it. So I'm going to put it pretty much there. Right, so object reference not set up as an instance of an object. I'm not quite sure what that is there, but we'll come back to that. I got a feeling we'll have to at some stage. But anyway, I've got this set up, and now what I'm going to need to do is actually do a little bit of code, and these guys should be on here. I don't know why they're actually on here. I'm going to get rid of them. Maybe again, it's because I kind of ran this once previously. So again, oh, don't do that to me. Please don't take forever. Bear with me. Right, I just did a little bit of tidying up. The reason I had the code there is because again I was playing around and forgot that I'd saved there. But anyway, at this stage we've got player movement code which is associated with our player. We've got a camera controller code which is then attached to our main camera. So this player code here, I should say, is attached to our player object on the game. Now I'm actually going to click on main camera, and you can see I've already got camera controller here. Just got to remove this again, that shouldn't be there. But I'm actually going to add a component. I'm going to do a new script again, and I'm going to call it, if it'll let me do it. Why won't it let me do it? No. Click on new script again. Right, it's going to be really annoying if I just start type in a new script. Alright, it does it that way. There's a glitch on this then. But this one's going to be called countdown timer, and it's been attached to the main camera. Now, the reason why it's been attached to the main camera, well, I think anyway, is because it will actually stick on the camera like it did when I pressed play earlier. I think. I might be making that up. This is how I've learned how to do it. But if I create them, and it'll generate the code for us here, countdown timer, and if I double click on it, without needing to pause, hopefully this time, here we go. If I double click on it, it'll load up for us in Visual Studio, which I've already got set up. Now this is the code which is generated for us. And using my Word document, you'll see that this is the code which needs to go in, and basically it's another couple of lines to add in. So I'm actually going to do them one by one. So I'm going to take that one, and this is something you need to have on any script where you've got any kind of UI or user interface, things like buttons, like text, etc., etc. And then this little part here, which is going to go within our countdown timer process, which basically our variables is set up there. So the time start I'm setting as 105, and there's also this timer text box, which is basically us referring to the text box which we want to change, and we'll come to that when we go back to Unity in a moment. This line is basically saying that when we start up the program, then the text box itself, the numbers which are in there are going to be set to string, because if you actually give them a number, a float, like 105, it doesn't like putting that into text boxes. So this basically converts it into text, so 105 is the text, and that will appear in our text box right at the beginning. And then the update side of things, so let's go back onto here, it's just 2 lines of code, and what this does then, it basically takes away 1 every time every time a second goes by, so it appears like it's counting down. So it starts off at 105, goes to 104, goes to 103, etc., etc. And this Mathf.Round bit basically makes sure that it's a full number, because if it didn't put this part in, it will be like decimal points and it doesn't quite look like a countdown timer. Right, now if I control S that to save everything and I come back across to here and it does this little compiling thing, I'm kind of slowly moving towards my pause button. Sorry, that only took a couple of seconds, so I wish I didn't press pause now. But anyway, back on our main camera, you'll see then countdown timer, the time start set to 105. Now we can change that here if we didn't want it to be 105. There's no reason it's 105, that's just what I wanted to do. Now the timer text box, what I need to do is actually grab across our timer text, which is this here, and then I need to pop it in here to say that this is the text box we're referring to. This is the text box we wanted to put 105 in. This is the text box which is going to minus down as you go along. So if I press play, and it will get there. I always say that. I've watched my videos back, and all I ever say is it will get there. And as you can see, our timer is going down. And when it gets down to 0, we'll actually go to -1, -2, -3, -4, etc. Because I haven't actually done any code yet to save it. When it gets to 0, end of game. And I haven't actually got an end of game part set up yet anyway. But basically, that's how you add in text, and that's how you kind of get a timer to work. I'm actually not sure what we're going to do in the next video. Hi, Future Rob here. Just something I want to point out. Please make sure you use a proper font because I'm sick to death of seeing like the bog standard, Arial, Calibri, whatever it is. So try to find something suitable, which is suitable for the game, suitable for the kids you are making this for potentially, and just to make it look a little bit better. And the same for like your scene management, like your start screens, your game over screens, and that stuff like that. But more importantly. One thing I want to point out is like my color of my text is white, and it can potentially clash with stuff which is going on in the background. So one thing I just want to point out, and I'm just going to double click on the timer label to actually add it on. So it might be nice to add a shadow to it. And you can see it comes up as what color do you want it to be? Do you want it to be 1, -1? If I click on game, you can see it's not really doing much at this stage. But if I maybe make it so it's 3 by -3, like so, then you can see it starts to show there. So if we click back on game, then it kind of starts to stand out a little bit better. So maybe as well, if I click on the shadow here, and at the moment it is halfway between being not being seen and completely being seen. So I'm going to knock it right the way up to 255 and turn that off. And if I click on game, it just looks a little bit nicer and easier to read, which is the most important thing.